Hey guys, Swanee and Cookie here once again. We have an interesting topic that has just come up in the last couple of days. There is a game known as the Darwin Project, which you might remember from E3 of last year when they announced it. It's an Xbox exclusive, but the real news about it is that it's been bouncing around for the last year or so in different betas and things like that. But it is now decided to become a free-to-play game. The significance of this, of course, is that it is trying to compete with Fortnite Battle Royale and try to do their system of making their money through cosmetic microtransactions instead of the major overall price of the game. The interesting thing about this is whether more games will continue to follow suit after the insane success of Fortnite, and that's the main thing we want to talk about in this one, and whether the Darwin Project can compete at all with Fortnite in the first place. So, Swanee, you have actually played the Darwin Project for the last couple of days to get a decent feel of it. First off, do you think it has any merit to possibly compete with Fortnite? And even if it doesn't, do you think the game could just be successful in its own way?
See, this game is actually surprisingly pretty fun. It's set up kind of like the Hunger Games. There's 10 people, and you get thrown out into the battlefield, and there's a moderator. And the moderator gets to choose how the match plays out. There's different zones of the map, and instead of like a storm like Fortnite that closes in, the moderator can choose which sections of the map get closed off, and the moderator can choose where like different supplies for the players can be dropped off at. So if they want to drop a supply drop at the top of the map and then cut off that same part, so like people will run to the supply drop, and then the moderator can decide to like close off that section of the map and kill whoever. So it is kind of like the Hunger Games, and it's pretty enjoyable, and I kind of have more fun playing this than Fortnite because there's actual like strategy to it. Like you can lay traps and you can harvest materials, and you have different abilities instead of just building and shooting. So, I mean, there's some aspects that are similar to Fortnite, but as for, like, competing, I mean, as fun as it is, I don't think it has any prayer of competing, mainly because it's an exclusive. Now, you can play it on PC as well, so it's on Xbox and PC, but not going over to PlayStation or the Switch, you lose millions of people. So I don't think a game like this that's trying to go with a similar build to Fortnite won't succeed if it's just an exclusive.
Now, even if it doesn't compete with Fortnite, do you think by going to a free-to-play, do you think it will increase the game? Because there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about this game. I remember when the trailer came out for E3 last year, there was some interest in it, and then it completely disappeared, and I had forgotten about it and didn't even realize they released it. I think they released it back in March, officially.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about this game, do you think the free-to-play is going to increase its numbers and actually be more profitable than having a set price?
I think it's... Who knows? I mean, if they advertise it heavily... Because I didn't know about this either until this article. And, yeah, I mean, it's been out since March. And when I go to play, you can only have 10 people per lobby. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to find those 10 people. Like, you have to wait a few minutes. So, yes, I think free-to-play will bring in more people because, I mean, it's free. You have nothing to lose. But, like I said, not too many people know that this game even exists. So... I mean, they have to advertise it a lot, and if they don't have the money to do that, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, they have to get themselves in the mainstream. I mean, I remember when PUBG came out of nowhere and exploded, then Fortnite came out of nowhere and exploded. It needs to do something like that. I think that it might as well go free because no one knows about this game. It's been very off the radar for a while. This will bring a little bit of interest now because it's free, but still, the majority of people don't even know it exists. So I think it needs to get that moving. I agree that I don't think it's ever going to really compete with Fortnite, but I do think it could be a nice alternative for people that don't really enjoy Fortnite but enjoy the premise, but want it on a different scale. I mean, it's only 10 people and want it more with a different kind of strategy base to it, I think it can attract a crowd, and I think in the end it might be a more profitable idea, but it's still a huge risk. I guess they figure at this point that they don't have much to lose because they're probably not going to make much profit in their current state. And I think what's interesting is, I mean, the Darwin Project, I don't know exactly how much it cost before, but it certainly wasn't a full-price game. So I think if you're a $10 to $20 kind of game, this might be the route to go. To make yourself free and then try and get everything through cosmetics. The only problem is you have to attract a pretty massive crowd for that to really end up well. But if you start to get a real good crowd going, you could be insanely successful. Even if you don't reach Fortnite's heights, just getting anywhere near where Fortnite is will get you wildly successful. So it's an interesting risk.
Or a fourth of the numbers of Fortnite, you're good to go.
Yeah. So it's a risk, though, because people really have to love the game to buy cosmetics. You don't buy cosmetics for a game you play every once in a while and don't really care that much about. You buy cosmetics for a game that you really enjoy playing, and people adore Fortnite, so the cosmetics are selling like crazy. So it's a risk, but I think it might be worth the risk because it just gives your game a chance to become very, very huge. And I think it's a really good risk for like $10 to $20 games. I just wonder if they'll ever get to the point of getting those super huge games to consider things like this, or at least consider maybe dropping their price to some extent if it would attract more people. I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point. Because
I don't know. Like
Fortnite
if
has opened that
Battlefield
door
or
a
something
little bit.
Dropped their price to like $30. I bet you a lot more people would buy it.
Yeah, but would it end up being, because obviously if you drop it to 30 and it would normally be 60. And this doesn't even include the ultimate editions that they could have and stuff like that. But just the base game, you would obviously have to make double the amount of people would have to buy it, or you would have to make a ton in cosmetics. But that's not completely unthinkable for that to happen. I mean, if the game dropped half in price, I don't know if they would have double the people buy it, but they'd certainly have more, and you probably make up the rest with cosmetics. Maybe. Now, the one thing they'll say is they could probably do the cosmetics now, but I think they would probably get a lot more because they just have a lot more people playing. It's an interesting switch in the strategy. Yeah, because Fortnite just completely changed the rules, I think, in a lot of ways. That you can be a free game and be insanely profitable on the consoles, and in ways I don't think a lot of people expected. And you don't have to do a pay-to-win style for it to happen either. There's nothing pay-to-win about Fortnite. It's just all cosmetics, and they're making a crap ton. It has exploded everywhere. It's become a huge esports deal thanks to Ninja and Myth and these other huge YouTubers too. So, I mean, it's... I don't think we're going to get to that point because I can't see these big games seeing the need for it. But maybe in a couple of years or so, I think we could start to see something like that maybe start to happen.
Well, yeah. And they did a study a little while back where they took like the average amount of money that people spend on Fortnite. And I'm pretty sure, I think the average was in the 80s.
Yep.
And that's just the average. And it's free. So that shows that so many people spend money on these skins that, I mean, if the average is 80, that means there's people spending hundreds of dollars on these skins. And I have spent a pretty decent amount of money on Fortnite. I mean, the skins go for like $20-some, but if you're having fun with the game, then, I mean, I guess a skin is worth it to you because, I mean, I don't have that many skins, but I've bought, I know with the skins and the battle pass combined, I've spent well over $40, maybe $50 on Fortnite.
I think I have too, and I don't play it nearly as often. I mean, I'm not even that big of a Fortnite fan, and I've spent money on, I think, at least 2 or 3 skins, and I've bought the battle pass. So, I mean, even for a casual player like me, it's still something you want to do. It's odd that it is kind of working, but you bring up that $80 thing as the average. Keep in mind, that's some people might be like, well, that's how much Ultimate Editions cost, so why would they drop the price? Keep in mind, Fortnite has an insanely high amount of people that play that game, more than all these other games, because they're free. So that $80 is multiplied by that gigantic number that these other games don't have because they're not free. So that's insane when you put it that way. That's like that incredibly high number of people were all buying Ultimate Editions of the latest AAA game, which would be an incredible profit that we've almost never seen. So I think it's
pretty impressive.
They've definitely opened the door on this one. Now, I'm not saying the Darwin Project's going to get to that level of success, like I said, but like you said, even if it's a fourth of that success, it's going to be more than they were going to get otherwise. So I expect to see a lot of these type of games that have have a small premise that's very attractive. Like another game that kind of reminds me of would have been Rocket League. Like Rocket League's $20. It's a pretty simple premise, but it's really fun to do, and a lot of people enjoy the game. I think Rocket League could have got away with this as well, and to an extent they kind of did this because they were just a $20 game with a lot of cosmetics that people were willing to pay for and stuff too. But I think to a higher extent, I think Rocket League could have done this and been outrageously successful too. If you have like an easy premise that doesn't take a ton of work, just release it for free and make a bunch of cool cosmetics. It's just a completely different way to do it.
Well, hopefully more games follow this model, depending on the game. But, I mean, if games are free and they're fun, then I'll spend money on cosmetics. And, I mean, as long as they keep up the updates and they keep it bug-free and they listen to the feedback. Because Fortnite has updates like every single week. I would give money just to support the developers because they're so good to their community. There's a lot of games out there that are nowhere near close to that. They just poop out the game, and then once you buy the game, they just don't care. Like, they'll throw out the occasional patches, but, I mean, they already got your money. So, and I think that has a lot to do with Fortnite's success, is that if something's broken, they fix it. If people don't like something like the jetpack, they get rid of it. If they like something that they test out, like some of these game modes, then they keep them. So I hope more games follow Fortnite in that aspect as well.
Yeah, and it's also a cool thing because it gives the developers incentive to keep working because they have to keep making money, or it's not really. Because I don't know like how everything works for developers, but I do think Fortnite has an outrageously high incentive to keep updating their game constantly. And also that whole beta thing that Fortnite's in, I think the Darwin Project was trying to do something similar to that too, which is kind of interesting because the fact that it's still considered a beta allows them to be able to make patches whenever they want and don't have to wait for
it's currently
Sony
a game
or Microsoft's
preview.
approval. The Darwin Project or Fortnite? Or both?
The Darwin Project.
Okay.
I don't know if a game preview is before a beta. It might be. I'm not too sure.
I'm also curious if more video games are going to try to exploit that because that is the main reason Fortnite gets their patches out so fast. It's because they don't have to go through the entire process like a AAA game has to. So that might be something people try to think about in the future too, and they might adjust the rules too, possibly.
Or if Sony and Microsoft would just change their
policy.
approval process, then I think a lot of games would improve.
Yeah. That's true too.
But,
so there's a lot to unpack there. So of course, as always, we want to hear your opinions too, guys. So let us know in the comments section. Do you think this is the way to go for future games? Does this excite you, or maybe this is something you don't like? Because maybe you think that AAA games, if they went to the freestyle, would be crappier games, and maybe they would. So a lot of different opinions to have about this. Let us know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Smash the like button as always. Share this around as well. It helps us out a lot. And, of course, subscribe. And we will talk to you guys in the next video.
Goodbye.
We would be honored if you would join us. You cannot resist